You know, we were raised being told sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Christina, that's simply not true. Words do matter. So I feel like it's my job to fight back for the people who can't, for the people who are bullied and consider self-harm. I come out there and say, nah, dude, let me laugh at these bullies and show you how easy it is to tear them down. Let me fight the fight for you because they don't affect me. And the reason they don't affect me is because I refuse to let anyone define me. Only I get to define me. I define me, and I am that person, and I am that brand.
Hey RockStars, it's Christina here, and I'm with Maysoon Zayid. She is an actress, a writer, comedian extraordinaire, but above all that, a dear friend of mine. And we're here because I'm making a blog about really how to be your authentic, true self and how to find your voice. And there's really no one who's done that better than you, Maysoon, I have to say. And before I get into too much about like the amazing stuff you've done, tell me a little bit about the background of how you kind of came into comedy, as that speaks a lot to kind of finding that voice and finding your path along the way.
So my path to comedy was a really crooked route. It all started out with the fact that the doctor who delivered me was drunk. So as a result, I have cerebral palsy, and in my case, that means I shake all the time. My parents were immigrants and they couldn't afford physical therapy, so they decided to send me to dancing school instead. And from the very first time I had a dance recital, I got addicted to performing. I used to get standing ovations all the time. I didn't know that they were standing because I was disabled. I thought it was because I was fabulous, which I was. And I just loved performing. So, like most Muslim girls who grew up in America, I dreamt of being on the daytime soap opera General Hospital. And I went to pursue my dream, and I hit a concrete wall. And what happened was that I realized that people on television didn't look like me. People with disabilities are the biggest minority in America, but we're the least represented on television. Right now, 0.4 of the images you see on TV are disabled characters, and 95% are played by non-disabled actors. So when I started looking for people who looked like me, I found comedy. I saw people like Richard Pryor, Carol Burnett, Ellen, Gilda Radner, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try comedy. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought it was really nice and easy, that you just tell jokes, and I didn't know that it was such a powerful voice until I started doing it.
Yeah, and when was that moment that happened? Can you because this was over 16 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite a long journey for you. Was there a moment where you sort of...
Again, it's very hard for people to believe that I've been doing stand-up comedy for 16 years, or that even I've known you for 16 years.
I know, we've known each other.
Because obviously that means we were in 4th grade.
Yes,
because
clearly.
Otherwise, but yeah, I've been doing it for 16 years, and it's really interesting because I never thought I would become a comedian because I was a drama queen. In college, I had designated weeping spots where I would sit and weep because I was so dramatic. And I did comedy as a means to an end. I felt like it was my way in to Hollywood to do comedy. And I don't think that I became empowered by it until I realized what a powerful voice it could be for me. Because there's a difference between reading lines written for you and telling your own story.
Right.
And right now in the arts, live theater is something that is only accessible to people with a lot of money, whereas comedy is still mainstream. And I feel like it's the last chance we have in this society to have an honest, unedited, uncensored voice.
And now you have a TV show in the works, which is amazing. That's a huge success, which is part of that, that really long struggle of like you said, like almost paying to kind of learn everything you had to learn.
The TV show is really interesting because one of the things I had to do was I had to take a risk. I said no to several producers that wanted to produce my show that would not agree to me being the lead. And they did not agree to me being the lead because they screen tested me and I was a terrible actress. It was because they wanted a big name to play my character. And I've spent my life trying to explain to people that people with disabilities should play the disabled characters on screen. And the assumption is we could never do it as well. But that's wrong. Of course there are talented actors with disabilities. Of course we bring more authenticity to the role. So I took the risk of saying no to person after person after person until I found my producers, Hazy Mills. And when I found Hazy Mills, they wanted to do what I wanted to do. And what we want to do is mainstream disability on television. When you see a disabled character, it's all about them being disabled. It's not about their love life and their family and all the other aspects that make up a disabled person. And that was really what my TED Talk was about. My TED Talk was about not reducing people to one aspect, whether it's their color, their faith, their ability. We are more than just one thing. And my TED Talk was about saying to people, yes, I have cerebral palsy, but I got 99 problems and palsy is just one. The TV show is an extension of that. I've never seen positive images of disability on TV. The storylines that I see are either heal me or you can't love me because I'm disabled. And that's not my story. I wanted to show my life, which was, yes, my disability is part of me. Yes, it's often a struggle. It doesn't define me. It's not the main purpose of my life. I struggled more with dating than I ever did with disability. I struggle more with paying taxes than I ever did with disability. And that's what I wanted to show people.
And it's really neat, the evolution of your voice, because you have a really active Facebook profile.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really active on Facebook but the gamut of what you talk about is really great, because this kind of plays into you finding your voice and just being yourself, because you'll put up great stuff about Beyonce here, your cat, which is so fun. But you'll get into like some deep political discussions, and you'll have, just a wide range of stuff, but you'll do it in a way that sort of fits your why and like why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that's the greatest thing. So how much are you on Facebook a day? Like how much are you?
I consume an absolutely ridiculous amount of TV, and I'm constantly on social media. And the reason is I only sleep 3 hours a night. I sleep from 3:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the morning. I've done the same thing since I was 5 years old. According to Ariana Huffington, it's going to kill me. So I do not recommend that you don't sleep like me, but the reality is I don't sleep. So I consume a lot of culture, and I also participate in social media a lot. And I often talk about social media like Star Wars, because there's a dark side and there's a light side. And what was amazing for me in social media was the transformation after my TED Talk. So in 2013, I did a TED Talk, not a TEDx, an actual TED Talk. And it was translated into 37 languages. So suddenly I had people reaching out to me from places like Malaysia or Chile saying, I had a disability and I've wanted to kill myself. And seeing you gave me hope. I've seen kids reach out to me and say, I was bullied. I never have friends. And when I see you with your Jersey girlfriends and your network of friends, it gives me hope that I can find these people. And I realized that social media wasn't just about being social, that it could be life-changing, that it could save lives, and that it could destroy lives. So once I realized the power of what I was doing, I had to make decisions. And one of my decisions was that I would take the time to educate people, right? So I get a lot of hate online. And when I get that hate online, I don't just block them. I don't just attack them. First, I educate. One of the things that people say to me all the time is, go back to your own country. At which point I educate them and I inform them that yes, New Jersey definitely has its own culture, but we are part of the United States of America. You might not want us, but we're not going anywhere. We're one of the OG 13. We are part of this country. That's educating them. If they refuse to be educated, I mock them. Why do I mock them? Because I'm a comedian for over a decade. I'm amazing at taking out hecklers. I've done shows where my entire audience was 7 drunk Swedish people that didn't speak English. I know how to handle a heckler, but then I block them. Because I made a decision in my life that I don't have to take verbal abuse, that I don't have to allow people to tear me down verbally. They have no right.
And like that's the biggest thing I think with a lot of people who do what we do is they're becoming like the face of their product and they're marketing themselves, and they really do open themselves up to haters and criticism, and they tend to back off because they don't know what to do with it. So I think that's a really good model for them, you know, that
One
you
of
gave
the reasons
there.
that I do what I do is I often say that I fight for the people who can't. I met the people, you know, we were raised being told sticks and stones may break my bones, words will never hurt me. Christina, that's simply not true. Words do matter. So I feel like it's my job to fight back for the people who can't, for the people who are bullied and consider self-harm. I come out there and say, nah, dude, let me laugh at these bullies and show you how easy it is to tear them down. Let me fight the fight for you because they don't affect me. And the reason they don't affect me is because I refuse to let anyone define me. Only I get to define me. I define me and I am that person and I am that brand.
And then like, where is the criticism that you accept and like you tweak what you're doing? Like, what's a good example?
I think it's really interesting as a comedian. Because as a comedian, your first reaction is to brush people off and be like, I'm a comic, I can say anything. I really realized how important it was to listen to criticism and judge whether to implement it or to ignore it from one very specific occurrence. I had done my TED Talk, I was really proud of it, and I had kids all over the world writing me saying I gave them hope to live. And then one girl wrote me and said, hey, I felt really bad about myself when you talked about walking. I felt ashamed that I couldn't walk. And from that moment on, I always included in my talks that yes, my father taught me how to walk, but there is no shame in not walking. There is no shame in using whatever mobility device you feel gives you independence. And it was important for me to say that in that moment. But when a guy talks about my chunky knees, honestly, that's not important, and I'll just dismiss it and throw it out. So what I say to people is listen to the criticism and make a decision. Is it something where it matters to me? It matters to me that my comedy is funny and that I give people light and love and laughter instead of reminding them of the most dark moment in their life. So if I feel like I'm harming someone, I'm gonna stop. If I feel like you're just criticizing me because you don't feel good about yourself or you've decided that a size 10 is grotesque, I don't care. You don't get to define me. Only I get to define me.
And Terry and I, you know, went to the Emmys one time, and I think you were like, did you do the seat photo that year?
This is my favorite story.
This is my favorite story.
This will never make the cut, but it's my favorite story on earth. So the entire time Terry was on As the World Turns and you were on I was seat filling away until I had to start touring and had to stop seat filling. But two of my favorite stories. One, I'm seat filling and all of a sudden over the loudspeaker, Dick Clark screams, "Sit down! You're delaying us!" And I looked around and I was the only person still standing because I volunteered to be a seat filler. But the whole point of the seat filler is that you quickly sit in the spot of someone who gets up. And all these women are wearing these big dresses and there's no way to quickly sit down. But I was the only person standing up. I have no way of proving that Dick Clark was yelling at me, but it's one of my fondest memories. But a much better story is I went to an after party with you and Terry and a girl named Jamie Dudney. And I choked on hors d'oeuvre and I was wearing a dress that was corseted. So like there was no way to do the Heimlich maneuver because I was stuck in this dress and I was choking on an hors d'oeuvre. And Jamie Dudney, who's a Southerner, smacked me on the back and just knocked it out of my mouth. And it fell right in front of the hottest actor on Guiding Light. And I remember looking at him and being like, hey, and him being like,
oh, but see those are memories I have too. Yeah. And it's fun to see you now and just the same person and just bringing that to everything. You're hilarious and you're passionate about your why, but you're as equally as defending of like the things that are important to you.
And that's what my social media is all
Yeah.
about. Making sure that I have a mix of those two things. So I try really hard to be like, hey, look at my cat Beyonce, isn't she fabulous? Or, you know, oh my God, look, it's a kid in a wheelchair dressed as the Death Star trick-or-treating, like fabulous images to balance out the fact that I'm like, hey, there's no water in Sudan, or, you know, like statistics of violence against people with disabilities. I feel like we have to balance out the message we send, because no one wants to be inundated with negativity. So even when I talk about something difficult, I try to come to it from a place of hope, from a place of solution, from a place where you're like, okay, this is terrible, but I feel like this is something that I can fix.
Oh, well, thank you, Maysoon. I appreciate this so much.
I feel like Beyonce needs a close-up.
Beyonce needs a close-up.
Should we get her
yes.
close-up? Yes.
Did you? Baby girl.
So this is Beyonce the cat.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Let's put Beyonce
Give you
down.
big hugs.
Thank you.